Welcome to episode 1 of the Just Send It podcast with Big G and special guest Dina Parise. This episode of the Just Send It podcast is brought to you by ePhoto. ePhoto is the official provider of photography for Triple G Racing. If you want a special moment captured or make memories last, give ePhoto a call. You will not be disappointed.
Welcome to the first episode of the Just Send It podcast with me, Big G, and we are very fortunate to have Dina Parise all the way from, where are you currently situated?
I'm in Georgia.
In Georgia, the USA,
USA.
and she is our first special guest. Dina, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm honored to be the first. I love it.
So just a little bit of background history. I went to your website and I looked it up. I'll leave it in the description below to your website and your Instagram account as well. You were originally an ice skater for the Ice Capades.
I was.
Okay.
Yes, I was a skater for the Ice Capades.
Okay. How long did you do that, if I may ask?
I did that for about 4 years.
4 years. Okay.
And it's funny because one of my roommates was from South Africa.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's...
And her and her partner missed out on going to the Olympics because of apartheid.
Oh my goodness, yes, the light unpleasantness, as I call it. Yeah. I do still feel there's a lot of things that happened that caused a lot of animosity that is still around, and it's a shame. It's really a shame. And from what age? First of all, where were you born? Actually, where do you originate from? Where's your hometown?
So I'm from New York.
Uh-huh.
I was born on Long Island in New York.
Yes.
And my husband and I lived there for a few years before we decided to move to the southern part of the East Coast of the United States, which for those of you who are not from the States, racing is a little bit more conducive to this area of the country. So we decided to make the move and go south.
Ah, fantastic, fantastic. Okay, and then where did the love for motorsport for you originate from? Where did it really start? What was your first race car? When did you start going to drag racing, or did you do any other motorsport before then?
So I always had a love for motorsports. I grew up with 3 brothers.
Okay.
And who worked on cars, one of them had a friend who he did a sprint, and his car was right up the corner from our house. Okay. So I used to go there and go in the garage. I was a little bit of a tomboy, but yet I was girly girl at the same time.
Yeah.
So I loved, when I was younger, I would watch NASCAR, Formula One. I was a big AJ Foyt fan. I remember when I got to meet him a few years back, I almost fell over. I was so excited. And oddly, I had never been to a drag race.
Okay.
So I had seen it because here we used to have Wide World of Sports, and they used to have it was the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. That was how they started the program. And they had I remember they had Shirley Muldowney at one point on the opening credits. So I had seen drag racing, but it wasn't anything that my family was involved in. And I was a figure skater and a gymnast as a kid. So none of that really kind of fit together,
Okay.
So in my 30s, my husband and I think when he had this car originally, I don't even think we were married yet. It was a 67 Camaro. It had about 1,100 horsepower. He had built it.
Nice.
And I went with him to the racetrack. And the very first time that I saw him take that car down the racetrack, I was in love with the sport. I just thought it was the best. I loved the people. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the fan side of it. I love how everyone can just kind of congregate and be together. Yeah. So I fell in love with the sport, and I didn't start driving till I was in my 30s.
Okay, all right. So your husband Andrew, that's correct, right?
Yes.
He, like you said, he was racing. I did see on the website he did super comp at one stage as well. So was he actually running pro mods or steel body or?
So he was a street racer back in the early 80s.
Okay.
And the end of his street racing career, I feel like this is always a good story to tell, because I feel like people who think that street racing is not an issue need to hear it. So they were street racing, and this was way, way back when, and the streets were kind of closed off, and they would even wear helmets and everything. But the guy in front of him took off, and his car started to veer, and he didn't want to hit the spectators.
Okay.
So he went the other way.
Yeah.
Which they were in line with the cemetery.
Oh no.
So he went up the curb of the cemetery, and he was actually decapitated by a headstone.
Oh,
so that was the very last time that my husband ever street raced after viewing that.
Yeah.
So
no. Okay. And then he switched over to track, to actual track racing. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Wow. And he's your crew chief. So he works on your pro mod, Stella.
He does. Yes.
Okay. Now, how long, a little bit more, the story of Stella. How did she come to be?
So originally my husband and I, so the story kind of went forward. We had that 67 Camaro while my husband was building his pro mod years back. Okay. And then I kind of got bored in the super comp. I wanted to go a little bit faster. And push came to shove, we wound up having 2 pro mods. I had a 63 Corvette. My husband had a 53. Okay. And we ran the same power plant, pretty much what we do now. 526 Hemi, Bruno with Alenco, same thing. Okay. And we were a 2-car pro mod team. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Okay. And we had a great sponsor, and then that company wound up selling and didn't keep us on. And it's kind of been a struggle since then. And we were approached by a builder who said, I have this body coming out, because the body was brand new at the time. This was it was 2013, because we debuted it in 14. And he goes, the one person I can see driving this is Dina. Okay. Every girl from New York needs a 3,000 horsepower Cadillac. So anyone who knows anything about New Yorkers and Cadillacs and Italians, they kind of go together. So, so he thought that the Cadillac would be perfect. And it was. And we named her after my grandmother, Stella, who never drove a car in her entire life.
Okay. Right.
Which is the funnier part to that, because the woman never drove a race car. So I wonder, she's up there. I wonder what she thinks about that. Sure.
But it's always good to know you're close to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. That's nice. That's awesome. Okay, so something that you just mentioned, your power plant is a Hemi based with a root. Is it a roots blower or screw blower?
It's a roots, yeah.
Roots. Okay. I don't know how much you've been following along these days with something that I want to get your opinion on. A lot of things that have been happening since the Discovery Show Street Outlaw started. So there's a lot of these. The first thing is the street racing stuff. We all know that's dangerous, but now then they do the no prep events at tracks. What's your opinion on something like no prep?
To each his own.
Is it?
I'm not a fan. I'm going to go to a racetrack. I want it to be prepped.
Okay.
I mean, I'm running a big tire slick.
What size? Just for interest, like, what is your rear tire size?
It's a 34.
34. Okay.
We can run a 34 or a 36.
Okay, you've got enough space.
36. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And so, I mean, I've met some of the street outlaw guys, like Doc and Monza and Daddy Dave, super nice guys. Yeah. So this is nothing personal towards them. I mean, they have a platform and they're using it. Kudos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just disagree with the premise of it.
Yes. Especially the safety. I'm
not a fan of the premise.
Yes. No, I understand.
So especially because, we get, even though they put the disclaimer, you still get young people who are like, on a back road somewhere thinking, well, nothing can ever happen. Well, you're on a back road and you lose control of the car and you're going 120, 30, 40 miles an hour and you hit a tree.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And there's
It's
no
not going to be a
safety.
good outcome.
There's no safety personnel on site. I mean, when you guys are at the tracks, I know with there's track personnel at the staging lane right through to where you actually at the beams, and then at the end there's people as well. So if they anywhere in the middle of the run something goes wrong, there's always people already and close by.
Yes. And I mean, and their show is, it's a show, it's production.
Yes.
They have to look out for their safety too.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
You don't see it because they don't want you to, I don't want to ruin it, but I kind of do. I don't ruin it, but they don't want you to see the safety part because then it ruins the idea of that reality,
Yeah.
But I don't know how real it could be when they have these big, huge rigs parked on the side of a road. It's kind of funny to me. Like that makes me laugh. That's the part that's funny.
Yeah.
But like I said, they have a platform, and I can't discredit them for taking advantage of a platform.
Okay.
I just can't get with the premise. I'm just not a fan.
Okay. No, that's one thing. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and it's your right to disagree and say no, that's not your deal. I know there's a lot of other people. I know one other NHRA racer, Stevie Jackson. He really gets onto their case. I know that for a fact. But yeah, they use their platform. It's working for them. They are awesome guys. Some of them have spoken to me on Instagram before, and it's their way of racing. I do understand the safety aspect is for me probably the biggest thing.
And they do have that. They have, and they're wearing the proper equipment, which is super important. It's something that I'm trying to get people to understand how important that is.
That is true, because now that I'm moving into the direction of racing, luckily I have a friend. He's a track racer, normal. He actually drives a BMW. It's like saloon cars and V8s and stuff. So they also build locally roll cages and build the cars themselves. So he actually built up this car from ground up. So I told him, listen, I need a fire suit, I need gloves. I already got a helmet, but I know for a fact I'm also going to need the Hans device, all the safety gear. I think Stevie put it in one of his YouTube videos. He put it best. He loves the car, but he loves him more. So wearing this proper safety gear at the end of the day, you guys, if you're really going into drag racing, you're running alcohol, methanol, and which is highly combustible.
And you can't see it.
I've seen with some of the NHRA stuff when a motor goes, or even with the Thunder 400 series in Australia, sometimes it's just a blower belt that comes off, and sometimes you can literally see the blower completely move to the side when the burst panel blows. So all that blowback can come in, and if you don't have the proper safety gear, you're in trouble.
Yeah, we had a shop for a while. We were in the safety equipment arena, and DJ Safety, one of the companies that we deal with that I love. And I had a gentleman come in, and he said, we were talking about safety equipment. He came in to buy some other things, but he was talking about safety equipment. He goes, well, my car doesn't go as fast as yours. So I said, well, do you have a gloves and a jacket? And he said, no, I wear a helmet and my t-shirt and pants. And I go, okay. I said, I would suggest gloves and a jacket. Doesn't have to be any big gloves and a jacket, at least at minimum. He's like, well, I don't go as fast as you go. And this is what I tell every single person. So before I even get into that, I asked him what he did for a living.
Yeah.
He said he was a plumber.
Okay.
So I said, well, what if your car were to go on fire and your hands got burnt, then you're out of work for 3 months. Then what do you do? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
He goes, well, but my car doesn't go as fast as you. I go, fire. This is what I tell everybody. Fire burns at 0 miles per hour. I have seen a car go on fire at the starting line for a leak or whatever. I've seen it happen. It can happen that fast. Everybody thinks it won't happen to me. You have to think, well, you know, it could happen. So let me be proactive.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. I'm glad you're putting it out there, because I've been speaking to a lot of folk that are interested in racing. They don't want to go as far as I do, the actually building a car and getting into it. But then they're just throwing up because I feel, especially after the whole Fast and Furious deal, everybody's just nos. And I'm like, okay, people, first of all, it's nitrous oxide and it's very flammable. And if you don't know how to work it, you're going to burn motors. So first of all, just get off the whole idea of this whole Hollywood bubble that they put out there. Go and actually look at some real racing at the track, whether it's drag racing or track racing, or if it's even drifting for that matter. There's always some amount of danger involved, where safety gear, it's not just getting into a car and just letting go. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And something that I feel is missing in South Africa, in the US, is Frank Hawley's drag racing school. So I started communicating with Motorsport SA and one of the local motorsport clubs, and there is no such thing at this point in time that for drag racing. It's actually sitting in my mind, isn't that perhaps a way to go forward, to actually start something like that as well, to get people the proper training, the proper procedures with the proper gear before they actually go out and build their own car and send it down the track.
Yeah. One of the problems is that people are not willing to go any further than what's mandated. Oh, that's what's mandated.
Yeah, the minimum.
Okay. But you can add X, Y, and Z because it's being proactive.
Yeah.
If it's not mandated, they're not going to tell you that you don't pass tech because you have extra safety equipment.
No.
They will if you don't have enough, but not if you don't have extra. So I had someone message me on TikTok. I'm all over social media, so if anybody wants to follow, come on over. We have fun.
I'll leave the links in the description below. That's for sure.
Yeah. So on TikTok in particular, someone messaged me and just asked me about nitrous. He said, I just got nitrous put on my car and I have a nitrous bottle. I don't know how to store it. I was like, oh, good God. And I said, I am not, so I have a blower car. That's what I've always run.
Yeah.
I'm not well-versed in nitrous. And that's exactly what I said. I gave him or her, I'm not sure if it was a him or her. It was just it had a no name. I said, here's some things that you can look at, some people that you can look at, and go and ask questions, because if that can be really dangerous. I mean, we've seen people killed because a nitrous bottle, there was too much pressure and it exploded and the cap hit someone in the chest or it went flying. So, I mean, that can be really dangerous. So I'm hoping that this person is going to heed my advice and, go and look through and learn how to store.
Okay. So on a side note, again, moving back to you being a supercharged roots blower based platform, have you had any encounter with a ProCharge centrifugal supercharger based vehicle?
I have not. I mean, I've seen them. I've sat in friends, but not. I have not driven one. No.
Is it okay? No. All right. Because I've seen quite a few of in the door slammers nationals that was now recently. A lot of the guys have switched to, because NHRA is now allowing ProChargers, and Speaking on a correction, I think Stevie went from a screw blower to a Pro Charger on his Bahrain one as well
think
now, because his previous cars for Radial versus the World, the first Shadows was actually also a Pro Charge based vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
So-
and they did since to make a rule change. So
Mm.
so the first race, there
Mm.
actually has been a rule change by NHRA for Pro Charger,
Okay. So
which
yeah,
was kind of expected.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
it was
it's the progression of the technology that's being made available nowadays. So getting it in, getting more people involved, basically.
Mhm.
Because you have your staunch screw blower guys, you've got your roots blower people, you've got your turbo guys, you've got your nitrous guys. They don't really want to move away from something like that. They either
Mhm.
know how it works, so it's easy for them to maintain. And if something goes wrong, I mean, you yourself would probably agree with me. When Stella's idling, you and your husband can basically, just by listening to how she idles and
Mhm.
looking at your data on your laptop, you can quickly identify where a potential issue is. Correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the computer tells all.
Yeah, the ECU.
So it's a great tool. When I'm at the shop, a lot of times I'll go live or do some videos, because people like to see that behind the scenes and see
Yes.
what is really happening, you know.
Mm.
Many people don't realize that the car is run by air, or that we have a chute lever and a fire lever in case something were to happen.
Yes.
And the nozzles for the fire suppression, and my fire suppression bottles are in the back of the car.
Okay.
Some are being built with them in the front of the car. It just really depends on the builder or preference. And so I try to go through things with people just to give them an idea, a little bit of a backstory, you know, so they have something when they're watching it, they can go, oh, now that maybe connect it and make them understand it a little bit more if they're new to the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, strange enough, at work today, I had to go out of town with my boss, and he's also now getting hooked on drag racing. And he said, now what are the guys, I always see this big scoop at the top. What are they actually? I'm like, okay, they are actually injecting alcohol into the engine so that it can actually start up. Now, as a matter of fact, do you self-start on a button, or do you have a starter pack on the outside that Andrea has to first spin it up?
It's so funny, because I was just asked that question on TikTok, and I was just getting ready to
Because
video.
you guys run a mechanical fuel system, correct?
So yeah, so mine is yes. And so my car is a self-starter. And with a self-starter, you can have either an internal or an external remote battery.
Yeah.
Or there's a remote start where you'll see them put the starter on. But NHRA rules are, you know, it has to be a manual start.
Okay. All right.
Self-start.
Nice. So, under which organization do you follow? Do you drive? Is everything governed by NHRA, or is it PDRA? Can you just give me some more information there?
Yeah, well, they kind of have the blanket rules, I would say, the safety and this and that, and then these other organizations will take from that. Then they create their own rules, like NMCA has Extreme Pro Mod, PDRA has their Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost. Pro Boost meaning anything but nitrous, pretty much.
Okay.
And so there's these other organizations. So NHRA is kind of like the mothership, and then these other organizations are, I don't want to say secondary, because they're not secondary, but they NHRA kind of makes the rules, and then we adhere to that.
Okay. So. All right. Your favorite track where you've actually raced? What is your favorite track, and
I get asked
why?
This a lot. Yeah. So I would say one of my favorite tracks is Virginia Motorsports Park.
Okay.
It was just, you know, when we were living in New York and we were racing, we would drive 8 hours to go to Virginia to test the cars. And we have a lot of friends down there, and it's kind of like home.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it just, and I love the track. I love the facility. I love the layout. And I guess we have a lot of good memories there too. So that helps.
Okay, all right. And you guys run quarter mile.
It depends on the series.
Okay,
So
so
I began running quarter mile
okay,
because it was more prevalent then. I've been in pro mod for almost 20 years. So when I started, it
respect.
was a little more prevalent for us to go kind of out the back door, you know what I mean?
Mm,
Now a lot of the series are NHRA is still quarter mile, but like PDRA, NMCA, ADRL, they're all eighth mile.
okay,
So
all right. So if I'm, what's your fastest ET and where?
I
Your
don't know where.
best run.
Yeah, so we've been off the track for probably a good year and a half.
Yeah, now due to COVID and all that.
So it's been a while. So it ran 590s in the quarter at like 245. Really, which in considering now it's slow, like 390s in the eighth and we haven't broken the 200-mile-an-hour barrier yet.
Okay.
But we have done a lot of work to the car in the meantime. And we won't really be competing this year, but we're going to go out and get some testing done.
Okay.
So we'll go from there and see what happens.
Awesome. Then back to your crew. Okay, obviously your husband is your crew chief, Andrew.
Yes.
Who else is in your group? Is it family, friends?
So I have one brother that will travel with us occasionally, my brother
Okay.
Charlie, and
Okay.
he's absolutely hilarious. He is not allowed to have a radio because he makes me laugh too much. So I can't even, we're like, no, you can't have a radio.
I can imagine, because I looked at the video that you put on, I know you put it on your Instagram account, where you say when you're in the staging line, you don't look at the person in front of you's procedure and run. You basically focus here in your 3-foot world, basically.
Correct.
And that's your way of getting your mind and everything ready for your procedure and to get yourself set for success, correct?
There's kind of two different scenarios there. So one is, you kind of want to, get all zen and whatever. But the other one is, I don't really want to watch what's happening in front of me in case something goes wrong.
True.
If somebody has a wreck or what have you. That stuff can get in your head.
Yeah.
And I've had it happen. I wasn't watching because I don't. It was something my husband and I had a conversation about years ago. Don't watch the car in front of you. And I just never did. So I just look down and wait till they, give me the go ahead, and then I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right. So what is the origin of the hashtag or your nickname Spicy Meatball? How does that come about?
This is such a funny story. Okay, so here's how it happened. So on my downtime, if I'm not racing, I'm watching racing. Okay. So I like to go into the chat rooms and chat with everybody. And I had my real name on this chat room. And this troll came in there and was just making it a miserable experience for everyone. And I said, well, I'm going to change my name because I don't want this person to know that it's me, because people get crazy. So I quick changed my name, changed my picture, and came back in. And then some people realized, like by the things I was saying, that people started to realize that it was me. And the next time I logged on,
yeah,
everybody was just like, Spicy, what's up, Spicy? So it stuck.
There we go.
So Spicy Meatball was a total goof. I just put it on there just as a goof. And then everybody just kept calling me Spicy Meatball. So we were like, well, I guess it stuck. So here we are, Spicy Meatball.
Okay. So yeah, when you do relax, other than watching more racing, what else do you do to except your day-to-day work for your for Dina Parise Ventures, it is,
Yes.
where you do motivational speaking and such. What do you do to just relax and just unwind a bit?
Well, we have two dogs, so they take a lot of my time.
Mhm.
And I usually like to, I just had foot surgery about a month and a half ago, so I haven't been able to do this. But normally I like to walk 4 or 5 miles a day,
Okay.
go to the gym and, keep myself semi-fit. And I was a figure skater before, so every once in a while I like to get on the ice. And that's pretty much it. I mean, my days are pretty busy, so I like to just keep busy, whatever it is, just busy work, and some reading. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any particular type of reading, type of book that you, story or genre?
I like a little bit of everything. I mean, I
Okay.
like anything from like suspense novels to, motivational novels, so
Okay.
books. So I kind of run the gamut on that.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that I've people that know me well, my inner circle of friends and people on Facebook, something that I'm very coming from an IT background, that's my background, and being an instructor. Something that I hold close and dear is to support ladies in anything that they do. That's something that I've seen, and this is why I'm so glad that you came on, and that you agreed to this, because I think a lot of ladies, in many respects, not just with regards to drag racing or racing, but in life in general, are basically shunned away. And I usually say, but I've worked under two ladies that were high up in actually directors level in the IT department, and I learned more from the ladies than some of the guys.
Mhm.
So with that being said, I know there's other ladies, Erica Enders, Leah Pruitt, the Four Sisters.
Yes.
What would you say if you had a message for other ladies out there in any respect, whether it's now racing or life in general? What message would you impart to them?
So, I mean, this is going to sound so two-sided, but you're going to have to hear me out on this one. So I kind of feel like we need to get away from the, I'm a female drag racer. I mean, I know I am, but I want to be known as a good driver.
Yes.
I am a good driver. So I like that reference.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, because if I have to use the female thing to my advantage, I'm going to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are times that it fits well with a marketing partner or that type of thing, where, being a female in it's a predominantly male dominated industry. But the flip side of that is there are a lot of amazing high tier females in our sport. One of my favorite things, and not just about women, people in general, is I love the fact that drag racing is and always has been so diverse. We never needed a diversity program. You know what I mean? I know that, way back when the ladies were coming in, there were, here or there, but in general, we really don't need a diversity program. We have every color of the rainbow, every, you name it. And that's something that I feel like is such a positive for our sport. And, but for other female racers or sports, whatever out there, I do try to say focus a little less on the female part and focus a little bit more on just being really good at what you do. Because there will be times people are going to try to knock you down just because you are what you are. But that's what this world has become, unfortunately. People want to throw they want to build you up to knock you down or throw negative comments.
Yeah.
People like to throw negative comments at me, but I make people talk them out. It makes people crazy, but I don't get upset about a negative comment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why did you come up with that scenario of what you came up with?
Okay.
And I actually make people, and for the most part, it's kind of turned people around to be like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Well, no, maybe you shouldn't have, but I'm not going to. I think we need a little bit more positivity. So I try to keep it that way as much as I can. I don't bicker back and forth with people when it comes to social media.
Wow, that's fantastic. Dina, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. This has been absolutely an awesome experience. I want to wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
Regards to Andrew. Give your fur kids a hug from me, please.
Thank you, I will.
And thanks for keeping it real. And I still have. I actually said to my wife and one of my our other friends, I've got the one day I was about a week ago. I was driving and I just get this almost like a vision, and I'm like in a 68 Pro mode, and Stella's lining up next to me. And strangely enough, the track that I would really love to race you on is Memphis, is in Tennessee, Bristol. That's where I would love to.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who knows? Nothing's impossible.
Hey, you never know.
There we go.
You never know.
Dina, thank you so much again for your time, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much. And if anybody wants to catch up with me, just go to dinapariseadventures.com, and my social media is all there except for my TikTok. I need to put that on there. Okay. And just, come on over. They can ask questions. It's always me. There's no like man behind the curtain or anything. So it's just me. So if it takes me a minute, I apologize, but I will get to you.
Okay, thank you. And that's a wrap for the first episode of the Just Send It podcast. Be kind to one another, keep it real, and remember, just send it. Cheers.